The next session we're going to have is about blockchain and AI becoming an integrated whole. Joining us today, we have our moderator, Simone GIACOMELLI, who is a partner at Cryptodex and also the blockchain lead at SingularityNET. And the speakers are KAZUAKI Ishiguro, who is a blockchain architect at Cougar, Japan Regional Head of Enterprise, Ethereum Alliance. CHIA, Managing Director at Cryptology Exchange and a member of the board at Cryptochain University. And also Matthew Tan, CEO and founder at Etherscan. So stage is yours, Simone.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and it's great to be in Singapore. I'm feeling very delighted to be in the company of such an inspiring individual. It will be my role here to moderate this panel on blockchain and AI, which I think less than a year ago sounded something very new, and I was amazed to see how the ecosystem developed in the context of these two technologies merging together. But before we go deeper into the topic, what I would love to do is for all the sort of panelists to introduce themselves and maybe share a little bit about the organization and their vision on the blockchain and AI sector or industry. And we'll take it from there. And if anybody from the, we would like to keep this participatory. So if anybody from the audience have some question, that we can actually take some questions as well. Yeah, so why don't you start first?
All right. My name is KAZUAKI Ishiguro. I'm a chief blockchain architect at Cougar and Connectome. And also I'm taking a role of Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, regional head in Japan. Currently, at the Connectome, we are developing a next generation interface, which is what we call virtual human agent. It's an AI agent that you can communicate and also which has emotions and which has vision and ears and everything. And also at the blockchain part, we are going to create a marketplace for those virtual human agents in the future.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jack. I am the managing director of Cryptology. We are an exchange, digital exchange. I think I was called here just to share my experience, been in the industry for 4 years, so to share my experience on the blockchain projects that I've seen so far and how it would be coming for the merging between AI and the blockchain.
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm the CEO and founder of Etherscan, and so we're basically obsessed with data. So we process a lot of data, we curate a lot of data, and I do believe there's a strong intersection when it comes with data and AI.
Excellent. Well, then actually I will introduce myself as well. My name is Simone GIACOMELLI. I co-founded together with Ben, who just gave a speech in the main center, Singularity Network. The idea of the platform is to allow any researcher, data scientist to be able to render, describe, and deploy AI model. And for that we use blockchain and sort of like networking technology, as well as having a token that allows to access this platform. And so we're very much focused on the networking piece of the stack. So, a follow-up question for our panelists would be, in the context of AI coming into the decentralized space, we've seen a lot of projects emerging over the course of the last 12 months. A lot of ICOs, a lot of this initial token offering, created to fund this sort of like ecosystem. But when it comes to applied AI, applied use cases that are viable at the moment, we've seen very little yet. So actually, you have showed us before a demo of your project company. Why don't you tell us a little more about how you guys are already using the stack, and also what's your plan and vision on going forward from that?
At the Connectome, we are developing a virtual human, like I said, and the virtual human agent has two types of AI, basically. The one is comprehension AI, which is kind of like a deep learning AI. You can detect the object and then give a new output. And also we are having an original approach, which is called character AI, which kind of like a same method of a game AI has, which is more like how you want to make a decision of this AI. So like we are combining those AI together, and then with 3D visuals, so that you can actually communicate with them. And also at the blockchain part, we would like to prove the AI, prove that you actually own the AI, also the proof that who and how and what kind of data set apply to those AI. So that's basically what we're doing.
Are you guys planning also to have a token related to it, and how's that fit into the equation?
At the marketplace, we're going to do two different approach, which is TCR, called token curated registry, and also curation market. Because in the future, there are lots of people creating their own AI, and then how can we evaluate those AI? There might be some like virus in it, or there might be some bugs in it. So like using a cryptographic proof, all the community of our network can vote which AI can be very safe to use, so stuff like that.
Excellent. And then a question from Jack. How do you guys are implementing AI currently in your company, if any, or how do you see new companies and applying to exchange technology their solution?
Well, in our industry, the common use case for AI would be a simple AI trading bot. So for those of you who do not know, AI, what we call, there's two main types of, there are two main types, applied AI and general AI. So for trading, it will be applied AI. And what usually they do is they will put in a simple algo, and then they take data from the market and then execute it's called automated trading. So you do some type of trading. But this has a very serious implication, because most of the projects I've seen, when they run a simulation, it's okay, but when they do the actual trade, you don't really make money. When the market tanks, nothing much an AI can do. That's one thing. Second thing, it's also the data, I think, which will probably lead to the next panelist. So data is very important for this kind of AI to work, but the source of data, when it's, that's why you need for it to be curated, you need to be validated. So the data itself, rubbish in and it's rubbish out. So, and the only way you can get true trading data, it's very few places. And all this are centralized. I don't think that you should get data from, we can look at CoinMarketCap, but, that would not be a very accurate data for you to use for analysis. But it's good for, just for a reference.
Jack, if you were to estimate, what is the percentage on average of volume generated by those bots, and how important, how much the market is affected by those type of product?
Yeah, you're putting me in a very tight spot. I would say whatever you see out there, take it with a lot of salt. Not a pinch of salt, a lot of salt. I cannot put a figure on who is doing what. If not, probably I won't get to walk out from here. But yeah, a lot of salt. I think that the actual real trading data you can get from those which are more legalized. You should get it from those exchanges who are regulated, which for Singapore, it's good news because regulations are coming out. So we at Cryptology intend to be regulated as well. So yeah, so if you get regulated, the chances of wash trading, it will be less, data will be more accurate.
Thank you. And with this, let me go to Matthew. Of course, that you guys are involved in providing, some phenomenal analytics on the Ethereum blockchain, mostly. I'd like, for you maybe to elaborate on some of the points that we just discussed, and also maybe, how are you guys looking at developing further, your solution, which is the most adopted solution for now to explore the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just pick up from where like Jack left off, right? So it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So I think when you're working with AI, machine learning, right, it goes down to the algorithms, right? So the algorithms that you have are probably only as good as the data that's coming in. And then you have when the data goes in, you're also talking about like probably the freshness of data. So I guess when you're building like a trading board, right, and the freshness of the data counts, right? Like getting in something that's a couple of hours late and stuff might not be as accurate as getting something off that's fresh off the oven. So, and when you're looking at data, so there's like two different kinds of data as far as blockchain data is concerned. So you have what we call on-chain data, so meaning it's data that's there for everyone to create. And then you have off-chain data where you need an incentivization mechanism such as the TCR methods, right? The TCR tokens in order to incentivize users to provide their data. So I think one of the things that we're kind of dealing with is like how do you jive both of these things together, like putting in on-chain data, mashing it together with off-chain data, and then coming up with a data set that AI algorithms can use. So that's some of the things that we're really thinking hard about and trying to solve.
Very interesting. And what is the model right now for a company such as Etherscan? Because clearly you guys have not issue a token or a service provider. Who are your customers? If any, or is it? And what is the roadmap there?
Yeah, so I think that token portion is always interesting, right? So one of the reasons that it's going slightly off topic, right, which we don't have a token is that I think one of the goals at Etherscan has always been to provide data in the least amount of friction. So to us, at least for our use case, having that token does introduce a fair amount of friction, right? So at the end of the day, I think, there are there's this saying like data is gold, right? Data is gold, right? So I think there's a lot of ways you can monetize from data, and a lot of ways that we probably don't even know of yet right now. So one of the very upfront first use cases that I can think of is, if you have rich data sets, right? We've seen examples here, right? We can actually provide data sets to companies building AI algorithms. So I think that's definitely one of the ways that you can monetize among many other ways.
Just as a reference, how many from the audience have used before Etherscan at least one time in their life? Etherscan. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Hands up.
So let me see.
For us, we use it almost daily.
Okay.
Yeah, because any project that comes on, we'll just say, okay, send me your wallet address. Let's do an Etherscan first. First thing you do,
Yes.
to verify the other party, because if it's an on-chain transaction, then we have to know, because we have to do security analysis on it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, right? So we also do tagging and labeling and stuff like that. So I think that kind of falls into classification when it comes to AI, right?
Excellent, excellent. So, take it from here. I think we've spoke about some of the implication on the trading side. We spoke about how that interface with an analytic provider such as Etherscan, and then here we have sort of like an industry vertically integrated example for AI blockchain. But I think when I look at the overall market, and when I look about the projects that are essentially delivering on this AI, excluding the trading part, then I think that open up to great possibility. But also, we've seen the ecosystem be not as developed yet. So one question would be, if you were to wear an investor hat, what are the things that you're looking at, coming up and knowing the blockchain space as well as you guys know, and knowing some of the challenges that there are in some of this open access, network. What are the key area for investment that you guys would look at on some of this company coming up to try to solve? Maybe we can start all the way from Matthew this time.
So I guess this is not so much of a question related to data than it is for taking from an investment perspective. So I guess I can. Let's kind of look at AI so AI and machine learning in one gist itself, right? So I think I think it used to be when with AI and machine learning, it used to be something that was only exclusive for those data scientists, researchers, people with PhDs, right? But over the last year, we've kind of seen the AI being more accessible to the general crowd. So I believe it's the point where anyone can use it. So I guess it goes down to as far as blockchain AI, probably looking at some of the algorithms. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see which of these algorithms actually make sense for a specific use case. And I think that's something KAZUAKI is working on, right?
Yeah. For me personally, I think for industry-wise, in trading, at the moment, AI still don't really work. You can give some form of automation, but maybe the AI can suggest what to buy, but really, because of the data problem, AI don't really work in trading at this point in time. But on a personal level, what I like to see is AI in driving machines, because those type of data you get third party, it learns as you go along. Those don't change. So I think one of the better use cases or proven use cases is self-driving cars. Singapore, we have TUV. I think there's one electric car with self-driving in NTU, something like that. They did the trial, and I'm actually looking forward to the Google Drive, self-drive cars. Those are quite interesting for me.
For industry-wise, I think a lot of people are currently using the AI without knowing what is inside or how they create it, what kind of data is applied. That's why there are lots of bugs on the Amazon Echo or Google Homes. And in the future, like Jack pointed out, in an autonomous car, you trust those autonomous driving car without knowing where do they actually take me to the point that I ask or not. So that's where I think blockchain technology comes in. You can prove what kind of data set applied and how they created and what types of algorithm were applied. So that's my interest, and also in our project, I'm personally interested in trusted execution and also data encryption, because Ethereum 2.0 is going to have ZK Stark and homomorphic encryption stuff. So data encryption and security is one of the biggest my interest. So a lot of AI in the blockchain project is researching distributed TensorFlow and also data encryption and in the distributed machine learning stuff. That's my interest.
That's extremely valuable. That's right. So at this point, I think we have a few minutes left, and we would like to maybe welcome some questions, if any, from the audience. Anybody has some urgent question to ask this great panel? Let's see. Oh, yes, one here in the front.
Are you ready?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so just hold it like this so you can speak, right?
Oh, awesome. I'm happy I asked. That's beautiful.
Hi. Thanks for sharing the AI technology and blockchain. Can you share with me some of the use cases currently have in blockchain using AI?
Sorry, I didn't hear the question at all.
I think that mic is cool, but it doesn't quite work.
Okay.
Try
can
to
you-
keep it closer.
Okay. Can you share you the use case of using AI in blockchain technology?
Use case of
Yeah.
blockchain technology on AI.
Yeah.
Oh, his project, for example.
For us, we have done a lot of a smart home POC, which is like connect with a home appliance or IoT, and giving permission to use those AI to connect with the IoT stuff. And another project might be we are thinking about doing a project like we would like to do a project with autonomous car, so that we already created a demo which our CEO Atsushi will be talk about in a few years at the main stage. But like in an autonomous car, you just sit there and then like communicate with the AI, and then those AI is going to communicate with the autonomous car and then take you to the place that you ask. And then how can you prove that actually she understands my question is like you can always trace to the blockchain.
Yeah, I'll just like to add to that. You don't need blockchain for AI. The only, I would say, in my personal view, the only reason that we're using blockchain or this, incentivizing everyone, is just to make sure the first part we have said, data. So if you can validate the data, then your AI works better. So it's kind of a full circle. You need that to validate that so that your AI performs better.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think it's also like the blockchain being a data source, essentially. So when we're building AI, right, it's all about the data, right? So it's one additional source that you can tap into.
Okay.
I was just going to see if there's anybody else with a question.
AirDrop.
What? AirDrop your tokens? Yeah, maybe we have a question for you, Simone, right? I mean, we've seen your paper on like open access networks, right?
Was it?
Your blog post on open access networks and what you're doing at SingularityNET.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps that's something that you'd like to share and how that taps into that AI and blockchain.
Sure. Yeah, well, I think, just to summarize also what we said so far, and in the context of what my sort of like visions and some of the hypotheses that, I formulated into that context was, so we've seen how, we can essentially differentiate the use of AI into blockchain markets, which is something that we've seen in regular capital market just applied to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. It's interesting, but it's something that we've seen before. But then I think what you share with us, so the ability of, encrypting data and creating essentially a new set of incentivized mechanism that can, improve the quality of this model, of this business model. That's for me is quite interesting. But I think when it comes to, the general, essentially, overlap of this, what the blockchain and the AI stands for. On one hand, what I see about the power of AI was really to augment or empower, any type of essentially data-driven model, right? And on the other side, you have blockchain, where it's sort of like this, decentralized, ethos or function, right? And so when we talked about blockchain and AI, one thing that I like to see is like, what are some of the challenges that blockchain-based organizations have? So we're talking about DAO, and effectively we're talking about proof of stake-based currencies. Where, so when you see the mechanism from which those stakes are released, then it occurred to me that and if you actually take the top 100 coin market cap, you could argue that most of them have POS, proof of stake. So, but it's not quite clear to me, and having worked on a number of these projects, how they actually release or mint this reward based on the very same goal that the business model is trying to optimize for, right? So, I mean, we've seen a number of different minting algorithm, but none has been so far able, I believe, to capture the value added by the network. So I think that's an area where AI or augmented data feed can help better improve or incentivize a specific network. So I think that's the first. And the second one, I think, which is applies in the context of a curated marketplace, right? The centralized marketplace is that if you have some bad actors, free riders, called in the economical terms, how do you go and prevent them for overtaking some of those mechanisms just by gaming the system? So I think building this type of resilient and essentially immune system for the centralized technology, I think it's quite important. But then I think if you go down to the technological stack, I think you can sort of like see computing as this combination of storaging, computing, and the networking, right? So on the storaging side and the computing side, I mean, it looks like most of the AI that happen in the real business today is incredibly centralized, right? There are a few providers in America, few providers in China, and effectively they have built an enormous amount of infrastructure and an incredible amount of software that is automated that infrastructure. So it seems to me that when you want to decentralize that superpower, then we're sort of like in a rush of creating a set of incentive models that can run the centralized data center. So if you look about what Bitcoin did on the mining part, right, where we have a software that subsidizes an hardware so that we can run computing, okay, for mining the Bitcoin blockchain per se, but if you can apply that sort of like ethos into a more general purpose, computing fabric, I think that's something quite not only valuable on a business standpoint, but valuable also for ethical reasons, right? At some point, when you have self-driving car and robots, and AI is sort of like everywhere, you kind of like some problem having all the computing happening in a couple of organizations, right? So there is that piece, and there is I think a couple more, and the second one is the talent, right? So most of the talent, it's sort of like working for this organization as well. So if you can create a set of incentives for talented people to work into the centralized space or the crypto space, I think that's also a general very good thing to do. And then the data piece as well, So those are sort of like some of my my observation. And in the context of doing so, that's why with Ben and the SingularityNET Foundation and a number of friends, we launched an initiative, an alliance that it's called DIA, which is the Centralized AI Alliance, which its whole effort is try to build some gold standard for interoperability of all these different efforts. And I think that's some of the very early steps that we need to take in order to foster this ecosystem. So those are some of my my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have a few seconds left. Any other question from the audience?
One more last question, I think.
Do you want to hear us sing a song?
We need sunglasses.
So Jack, you're going to sing a song.
No, don't worry.
I have a couple.
Hi, a quick question. This is a little bit more general. On the panel, it's been mentioned that there is not currently use of AI in trading. If high-frequency trading is not using AI, then I don't know what is. High-frequency trading, the algorithms are designed by AIs. The monitoring, the data collection, the execution, the management of custody is then being used by AIs. Integrating that with blockchains is just a next step and a next extension and really part of the upgrade of the exchange systems. So how is it not really AI relevant?
I think you got me wrong. I said it is. We are using AI, but to what extent? All right? High-frequency trading, yes, definitely they're using algos, but do you term that as AI? That's the first thing. All right? Does having a bot execute a trade for you, does it fall under automated trading, or does it fall under AI trading? Right? So AI trading will make decisions on its own. But what we are doing right now, we're still setting parameters for it. Like, if it goes X amount, then we do this. If it goes that amount, you do that. And the data feed that you are getting especially for high frequency trading, usually it's a very simple one, all right? Depending on if you're doing arbitrage or if you're doing arbitrage between exchanges, in the exchanges, or even taking liquidity. So those are very set. They don't really, like, go one more step forward and, execute everything for you without thinking. I'm talking about retailer kind of AI. Like, can you sign up with me? I give you a bot, and I'll make sure you make money out of it. It does all the trading for you. No, it's still not there yet. And I think the reason behind it is because the data that they're getting is different. However, if I'm a OTC trader or if I'm a high-frequency trader, then I know for sure, because all the data I need is buy-sell at the price. Right? Fair enough? But anyway, AI, another use case of AI, I think, beginning of this year was to raise funds. It was a buzzword. Everything you add AI on top, you could raise more.
Well, it seems to have been the case in technology overall. And it's also the opposite is true. I mean, you see a regular company apply blockchain to their name, suddenly, they're worth more, right? So.
Okay, I think, finish?
Finish it? Yeah, I think we have.
Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.